Welcome to Crypto BS. I'm Al.
And I'm Craig.
And welcome to our show. We bring you crypto news, some traditional market updates, relevant world news, give our crypto analysis, and discuss our strategies, usually for the week, but occasionally we get it for the length of the cycles that we're in. But currently we're in a bear market, and Craig and I have both different takes on how to approach this. Craig, I'm still kind of into looking at shorts. What are you looking at right now?
Yeah, I'm still looking at the long game with Bitcoin and dollar cost averaging. First week of the challenge, I put my money directly into Bitcoin. Last week, I decided to put it into a bot, and we'll get to see what I choose to do this week later in the podcast.
All right. Well, typically during our show, we talk a little bit about the news because for me, that's a major influence. And in my experience with the previous bear markets, it tells me that negative news will continue to influence the crypto market. Positive news within the market or with specific projects may have some short-term upside, but in general, it basically returns back to the rest of the world sentiment regarding cryptocurrencies or world markets. So for me, my strategy hasn't changed. The overall economy is still deteriorating, and there's nothing out there that leads me to believe any of the markets will be turned around in the near future. So let's talk a little bit about some world news. The three big stories out of China this week is that they're shutting down all the casinos in Macau. So if you wanted to take a short on any of the casino stocks, you probably missed that, but it would have been good to do Monday. Basically, Macau is the Chinese Vegas, and due to the virus that shall not be named, they're shutting it down, and probably still going to impact some of the supply chain shortages that we've all been experiencing. Additionally, there are 4 banks in China that have frozen withdrawals. They're having riots outside, storming the banks, that type of thing. And the bank runs are beginning there. And my question really is, where is that money at? Do you think that they funneled any of that to Russia? Do you think that they were using some of their cash to purchase arms or to maneuver personnel or supplies at all?
Is there really any telling? I mean,
there's
it'd
not.
be pure speculation, would it not?
It is, but where's the money at if it's not there?
There's enough corrupt people in this world. The money could be anywhere.
Okay. All right. Well, that's true. The other big thing for me when I'm looking at the markets and impacting the market is Evergrande. For those of us that have been in the crypto market for the last year, I guess even in the stock market for the last year and a half or 2 years, Evergrande is a development company for land and housing, residential and commercial structures, but they have gone more or less insolvent for, I think they're on the hook for like $300 billion. It's an astronomical amount of money, but the company's bank exposure is wide. Due to a leaked document from 2020. They said it was fabricated, but who really knows? But right now that those liabilities are spread out through 128 banks and 121 non-banking institutions. That includes Blue Bay, BlackRock, Ashmore, and UBS. Those all have exposure to that. So if we've learned anything from the Celsius, the 3 Arrows, the Voyager, that when one of these has a huge issue and that money is gone, you start seeing those dominoes falling. And I think that it's important to kind of keep an eye on this, because if they go down, it's not going to just hit some of these U.S. based banks, but it's going to be throughout the world. And so as those start crumbling, we're going to see that spread. So for me, that's definitely something to be watchful of. We've seen the news on Nord Stream 1. It's been shut down for quote unquote maintenance for 10 days. This is going to cause some issues if Russia does not turn the gas back on. That's going to really push Europe into some more economic crisis. And we're seeing some of that right now with the euro that is now not paired to the dollar. It's underneath it, which normally it rides a little bit above, but right now it's underneath. Hadn't seen that in 20 years. The 3 major political moves that happened, most of us are aware that the Japanese former Prime Minister Shinzo Abe was assassinated. In addition to that, the British Prime Minister Boris Johnson resigned, as did nearly 60 other ministers and aides. And finally, the Sri Lankan president and prime minister both resigned over fuel and food shortages. In April, the Sri Lankan government banned the use of non-organic fertilizers and pesticides. And the end up results, this was last April 2021, the results from this year are a 40% decline in crop production. There's been some news that's come out recently with the Netherlands and Canada, who are both planning similar moves. I've seen some of the tractors from the Netherlands coming up and dumping manure and stuff on the courthouse, and they're starting to try to fight back against that a little bit, but that's looking like there's going to future cause of some additional food shortages. Electricity costs in Texas have surged 70%. This affects the crypto market twofold. Both Riot and Bitmain have mining farms located there. So that is going to increase the price to mine, which makes them less profitable. And additionally, there's an increased risk of those rolling blackouts. Now, at this point, Texas hasn't experienced any of that just yet, but before it's all said and done, if that heat doesn't come down a little bit, they're going to be experiencing that. So maybe shorting Riot may be something to look at in the traditional market. U.S. traditional market news. Obviously, we've seen that Elon wants out of Twitter because they won't turn over that bot data. It's pretty funny memes have come out on that. They've threatened to sue. Elon said, bring it on. Y'all will be turning that data over in court, and everybody can see it instead of just me. So we'll see how that shakes out. Since that's happened, Twitter's lost a considerable amount of value on the market. So we'll see. He may end up getting them at half price. I don't know. It's reporting season for the traditional banks. Banks will report by the end of this week. I don't expect that really to affect our market. However, big tech does report over the next week or so. So that should have an effect. I think that Facebook and Meta have both have been downgraded. That, along with Apple being cut back, it looks like their third quarter earnings aren't going to be as good as per a couple of my sources. And I think that'll be a good bellwether on what is going to happen with crypto. So I'll be watching Amazon and Tesla and seeing if the Apple Meta comes out, and it is what I've been hearing is going to happen. So if that happens, if that's negative, I expect that negative sentiment to bleed over into the crypto market as well. And a couple things on housing. Loan Depot has already cut 2,800 jobs and plans to cut another 2,000. Last week, we talked a little bit about some of the jobs data, and that's one of the things that the Fed is trying to work within that Goldilocks zone of keeping jobs up, raising interest rates, funneling the money where they want it to go, but they don't want to be losing these jobs. This is twice as important because it's within the housing industry. Median housing rent is up 14%, is averaging about $2,000 a month throughout the country. So as we're seeing that cost go up, the average new car loan is over $1,000 and the average used car loan is over $500. I think that we'll start seeing more and more failure for those loans to be paid back as well. So it'll be interesting to see when that hits, because I think when it hits, it's going to hit all at once. And I think that that's really going to shut the market down. It's probably going to give us some whiplash within the market. And lastly, the biggest news of the day is the CPI report, and it's at 9.1. They completely missed the estimates of 8.8. The report hit about an hour before the market opened, and that resulted in an immediate crater of the crypto market. Everything dropped. Bitcoin was down about 1,000, got just under $19,000. Since then, it's rebounded, but I think that was to be expected. To me, it's interesting that these traditional markets and these individuals in the government that are running a lot of this are waiting for these numbers to hit, whereas we are all experiencing this in the grocery store at 30 and 40% increases in our grocery bill in the last 6 or 8 months. We know that this is coming, and I think it's important that we go ahead and push that agenda out as well, that we know that, so we should be able to make those assumptions. And I think it's important for your crypto plan and your investments going forward. Lastly, the crypto news. We talked a little bit last week about Genesis, and it turns out that we were correct, and they did get hit with some exposure to Three Arrows, as did blockchain.com, and they're on the hook for about $270 million. Speaking of Three Arrows, Suzu and Kyle Davies are both in hiding, and a U.S. District Court judge in New York ruled that the bankruptcy needs to be halted, and they're not to do any more liquidating until those assets get appraised. So that's halted for the time being, but at the end of the day, it's still not gonna. We're still not gonna see anything good come out of it. Celsius. All right, Craig. With Celsius. So what's happened here is they've paid down $183 million of their debt to Maker, and in return they got back about $40 million in collateral. They still owe $41 million to Maker, and if they're able to pay it back, they'll get almost $450 million in wrapped Bitcoin. Yesterday, Celsius reduced its debt by $95 million on Aave and freed up $410 million in staked ETH tokens, worth about $426 million. They later paid off another $8.4 million to Aave and got back $10 million in staked ETH, $13 million in Chainlink, and another $3 million in synthetics. So what does all that mean? First, if they're able to repay that loan back to Maker and redeem all that collateral, are they going to offload that onto the market? I think that they've been offloading some of this as they've been getting it, and I think they'll continue to do so. What do you think?
How else are they going to pay back their debts? I mean, when they're going to have to take it out of some sort of asset, yeah. I mean, the income through the wallet and the fees and all that has obviously not been enough to stave off the problems that they've had. And
I think their problems are so deep, it ain't going to matter.
I mean, it could be, but I mean, they're going to have to do something. And especially with all the news that's coming out, you know, if they want to try to be more cautious and more forward looking, you're looking at bad reports coming out on tech stocks, more inflation, Fed's probably going to raise rates again. Why wouldn't you take some of that out now at current market price to save your company?
Well, what this has done is it definitely lowered their risk of liquidation. I don't think that that's going to happen now. I think that they have to ease it into the market a little bit at a time so that they don't crash it, but they're definitely going to try to get some of their money out. So for me, this is still pushing into the fact that we're getting this extra boost of Bitcoin, Ethereum, Chainlink, synthetics, and getting that eased into the market is going to drive the price down because they're going to be filling up those buy orders that are out there because they're just trying to get their money out. Now, the next part of this is, where did the money come from to unwind that leverage to start with?
You're asking me where the money came from?
Had to come from somewhere. What do you think? Because they didn't have it to start with. They had to get that initial money in just so that they could get their collateral out. They've got to sell some of that off to pay back the loan that they just got from somebody. I mean, it didn't just appear. They had to do something.
Well, I mean, I'm not going to sit here and tell you where the money came from, but they have options, right? They can have an investor come in and put a new influx of money into it. They could convince someone somehow to give them a loan to to offset another loan.
At what cost? They had to do a deal with the devil somehow.
I mean, yeah. They had to do something. I mean, the money didn't come out of nowhere. I mean, you could also look into more shady activities of maybe they're not backing their wallets as much as they should just to save themselves in hopes that they can kind of backfill that later. I'm not putting that out there saying that they're doing it, but if you want to be a pessimist, sure.
So here's the next step for this. The Mt. Gox trustee this is from back in 2014. Those of you that have been around long, you know what I'm talking about. They're preparing to make the repayments to their creditors. They got hacked back in 2014. They've got a trustee that's in charge of the Bitcoin. It's about 142,000 Bitcoin. That's going to start happening in August. From a strategic standpoint, Celsius has got to start unloading this before that happens because you don't want to be in competition with Mt. Gox unloading their 142,000 Bitcoin. All of these things are going to continue to add pressure to the market. And for me, it looks to me like the market is going to continue to go down, which is why I am still not down for doing a long yet. My next question with this is, Celsius, are they going to do the right thing? all this that they're unwinding, they're getting these assets back that they have put into some high risk elements. Or if they finally get all of these debts paid off, do you think it's actually going to come back to the people? Or do you think that they're going to go ahead and get it, file bankruptcy, and keep the cash? Or are they going to move this over to a side wallet for themselves and be like, oh, no, that was mine. That didn't have anything to do with all of you people that had money on Celsius. Is it still going to be bankrupt?
Celsius is going to do what's right for themselves. At the end of the day, they're about making money. They're a business, but it's going to be what they determine is the right path for themselves. If they truly believe that they can continue and they can rebuild and gain trust and continue to build the amount of users on their platforms, they're going to push to do that because that's more money in the long term. But if you have leadership up at the top that says this thing's going under, get out while you can, yeah, us traders, we're jacked.
Well, so this all circles back around to where did the money come from? That money to come in to hopefully save Celsius, to start unwinding to get their collateral back. Where that money came from, I think, is going to determine whether or not the right thing happens with it. Because if somebody has basically come in and said, hey, we'll make you that loan, but we want half the company. Or maybe we want the controlling half of the company, but at least it won't go under. They're going to want to keep that and let everybody know, hey, we did the right thing with it and we're now in control of this. Don't pull all your stuff off of these platforms.
I think the bigger play is trying to keep it alive, but again, we don't see what's going on the inside. So if it really is worse than what it appears, and it appears pretty bad, but if it's worse than what it appears, who knows what'll happen. But for them, if I'm in their shoes and we have a company with millions of users and millions of dollars on board and things are rough, it's better for me to try to make that thing work and make millions more dollars than to get out while you can and that's the rest of your life. I mean, what crypto project wants you after that? You duck and run. Nobody wants that.
Well, Sam Bankman-Fried looked at it and was like, ooh, I don't want to have anything to do with this, but I'll go deal with Voyager, which seems to be a far greater risk from the outside. That scares the hell out of me. Who was it that would have come in to do that? Matt Damon? Matt Damon come in to do it?
Matt Damon. No, he's got that deal with Crypto.com. At least he advertised for him. I don't know if there's a deal, but he got paid.
Was there any news that really struck your fancy? Anything that you think is going to have any determining effects on what you're going to do with the challenge this week, or maybe any other investments you got going on?
Only the most important news, Alan.
Oh, Craig.
If you remember, last week we had a challenge to put 10 USDT into our not so great coin choices of GARI and BURGER, and I believe I am far and away the winner with my 10 USD put in BURGER. And you know what the worst part of it is that I bought in just after the podcast and I cashed out just after the podcast. I had a 40% return in a day, and then it ended up going up 150-ish%. It was nuts. It went to what, 350 something. My first purchase was at 162.
Yep, you definitely killed me. I am currently down about 35% on my GARI purchase. If you missed the stream last week, we did $10 of our current challenge into the crypto of your choice, and I didn't have a choice. Craig went with BURGER, I went with GARI, and I got my face kicked in with that one. It was not a good choice, but it was also long term. I could have cashed out with it at a far greater amount than what I've got right now, but it was only $10, so I'm at $6.36 on the $10 wager that we had. Did we put anything on that? Was there?
No, that was the big mistake. We should have done it.
Oh no, I'm glad that we didn't.
Oh, for next time, the winner keeps the remaining amount of money from the loser.
Okay.
So I would have gotten your $6 and whatever for winning, and if you would have went up and I went up more, I would have kept all that too. But maybe next time.
Yeah, I'm just gonna let it ride. We'll tuck that in and see what happens in a year if Gary does anything. So basically, that's one of the things that we do on the show is we talk a little bit about a challenge that we've got. Now, this one was a little bit off the beaten path for what we typically do. This was a complete side bet and not any financial advice, much like everything else that's on the show, as we are not financial advisors. But we did stay at a Holiday Inn Express last night. The rules of the challenge. Craig and I will each allocate $100 per week to our trading accounts with the intent of growing it to $100,000. It's basically a race. Once the money is in the account, there are no rules. We can long it, short it, farm it, stake it, leverage it, or hold it on the sidelines. We will update you to our trading plans for the week. This is week 3, and our current allocation is $200 with another $100 being released today. I am currently up $108, and I'm also looking into shorts. I don't believe in the market long term. I am not ready to DCA, and we have had this heated conversation on DCAing and when is the right time to do it quite often. But so right now I'll have $408 ready to deploy. I'm actually currently in a short, so once I get out of the short that I'm in, whatever I've got from there will be what I'll be looking at. So I'm at 408. Where are you at, Craig?
Yeah, not doing so good this week. If you recall, I was up about 6.5% last week on my Bitcoin. Then I had moved that over to a bot. And I will say 2 things. 1, lesson learned on setting up bot grids. Don't go default. And 2nd, right now inflation numbers have came out, and even regardless of inflation numbers, Bitcoin has been coming back down the last few days, but this drove it that much further this morning, and so I'm technically negative on this week's holdings. So I'm back down to flat right now. So I have $300 for the 3 weeks of the challenge, and I'm right at neutral with my Bitcoin. With if we're being honest, I'm looking at the Bitcoin chart right now, and I'm still happy to put in the other $100 straight into my Bitcoin bot with some modifications on the grids.
So tell me a little bit about your grids, because this is not the first time we've played with bots, and it seems like between the two of us, we've probably done it a dozen and a half times on setting these bots up. I struggle with getting everything set properly. I always feel like either I've got way too many movements, too many grids in there, and I get run out of the north and south end too much, or I've got plenty of space in there, but then the grids don't hit, they're spread too far apart. And it's just really hard to find that sweet spot with those. Is that what you're experiencing?
Yeah, so I wasn't afraid of the upside like you would be with the traditional grid, because I'm on the infinity grid option on KuCoin, but I did just defer to the AI settings on KuCoin, which put my grids at 1%. And I will say I wish they were much closer, probably around the range of 0.5%. I'm looking at 28 trades over the last week, which is 4 a day. And 4 a day sounds all fine and dandy, but then you realize that that accumulated all into about $1.50 on my $206 in. So it's very small trades, and you're going to need several of them going at a time. Bots in the past that I've had that were successful, I was getting on average a trade every hour or 2, and this is a trade every 6 hours.
So are you going to set up a whole nother bot?
Yeah, I'm gonna scrap this one for sure. This bot is out. I'm gonna put in a new bot. It's gonna be another infinity grid bot, and it will be in the range of 0.5% grids, if not maybe even a little smaller. It depends on what the profit gets cut to with the fees as I move that percentage down.
Well, why don't you just set up a whole nother bot on just this $100 and compare those for next week?
No thanks. I'd rather just get more.
You hate that bot that bad?
It just, like I said, 4 trades a day is not worth sitting in a bot. I'd rather just take it all and throw it back into Bitcoin. I want to trade about every hour or two. That's what I want to see.
Well, for me, what I'm kind of looking at for this next week, again, I'm staying with shorts, Link, Zcash, Ethereum, and I hate saying this, but we've played with Burger a lot, and that's where a lot of my shorts hit from last week and over the weekend was hitting a couple of shorts. I hit a couple of longs, and I missed some in there. I went about 4 for 6 on my longs and shorts. And I mostly played with Burger since we had talked about it the other day. It actually looked pretty good when I woke up and Craig was up, 150% on Burger, which I still don't think is good. It's got to come down here. But I don't know. Like I said, the overall market doesn't look good. Not a big fan of it, and I think that there's room for it. I'm kind of looking at Zcash. I think that if I can get Zcash, if it hits that $49, $50 mark, I think it come back down to $32, $35. So that's one that I'm interested in. It's a little bit more expensive than what I really like to play with, but I think that there's some room there. Ethereum's Ethereum. I think that we've got some options for it. If it'll break underneath that 1,000, it may go all the way back down to the 800. That's what I would really like to catch it, is just under 1,000, moving down, and then get out. 880 would be my target there. And then Link's looked pretty rough over the last 6 months, really, even compared to some of the other assets that are out there. It currently right at $5.89. We had a high probably 2 weeks ago around almost $7, $6.86. I'm looking for it to, if it will break under almost where it is right now, $5.85. I can see a good run on down. That I don't see a bottom. I don't see a bottom anywhere. Maybe close to 530 would be the next spot, but I think it could just, it could bottom out. It could go a long way after that. So if it gets under that 585 mark, I'd be looking to take that for a ride. So, Craig, ready for Would You Rather?
Let's do it.
You want to start, or you want me to start?
I'll let you start.
Well, we've talked a lot about Burger. Talked about Bitcoin. We haven't talked about Battlestar Galactica, but this is the challenge. Would you rather short Bitcoin or long Burger?
I would rather short Bitcoin. I don't know what's going on with Burger. I chose it last week. I thought it was going to flop. And then it goes up. And then it goes up more. And then somehow it goes up more. And then it comes down, and then it goes up again, and then goes up even higher. And I know that's almost the case for the long, but just why? Why is Burger up? Can we not get Burger to drop back down to like 2? Give me something I can go long on. I don't want to go long at 3.15.
Well, on a side note then, would you rather short Burger or short Bitcoin?
I think Burger is less predictable. I'd still rather short Bitcoin. Bitcoin's going to move down with the news. I could do a short-term play on it fairly easily, I think, if I'm being a pessimist about it. But, as far as what I'm doing with my $100 for the week and the funds we have before this, I'm not saying I'm going long on Bitcoin, but I am trading within a grid on Bitcoin, so I don't expect it to drop too heavily. In fact, looking at the chart not too long ago, if we can survive the next day or two after this inflation news, I think Bitcoin comes back up over 20 again. I don't think it likes being under 20 right now. It's going to take something more significant than another report of inflation that we've had for the 9th time.
Well, there's so many big world events that took place over the last 5 days, not even for the last week, but just the 5 days starting on Friday, last Friday through today, we've had a lot of world events. It didn't really move it that much. I think that something combined with these inflation numbers, I think that could do it. I think we could see a big pullback, especially if Celsius starts dumping some of that wrapped Bitcoin back out and getting rid of that, and that could drive it down. I think by August, I think it's going to be down. What do you see it going down to? If it pulls back from here, I know you're liking it at 19,000.
I'll go ahead and try to make a call right here at the risk of losing all credibility.
Oh, fire away.
We see Bitcoin dip below 19. It'll go into the 18s. Let's say 18.7 is what we're going to dip to short term before it comes back up towards 20. It maybe even touches over 20. Not going to call that's going to hold over 20, but I'll say 18.7 short term starts coming back up towards 20. And then if there were anything to drive Bitcoin below that support that we have in that 18 range, I'm calling it to settle in the 17s. It may touch lower than that. It very well could, but I don't see it settling at 12 or 16 or anything drastic. It'll take the next step down into the 18 range.
Now, when we're looking at the dollar cost averaging, we've discussed this in depth, Craig. I just don't think now with my normal trading accounts, I'm not ready to start easing in yet. I want it to be lower. I've got my first one set in that 17 range, 17.6. That's where I'm setting it for my first one to execute for my dollar cost averaging back into Bitcoin. But I've got it all the way down to $10,000. May not ever execute it. It may only go down to 17, and then it bounces from there. And I'm not trying to catch a falling knife, but I'm trying to get close. I mean, I don't have to hit the bottom, but I've learned on those previous bear markets, when everything is starting to come down, trying to buy in all the way because you don't know where the bottom is. You're right. And you've made that argument several times where you don't know where the bottom is. You're trying to catch the bottom. I'm not. I'm trying to get it closer to the bottom because I don't believe now. I don't believe we're at the bottom, and I don't know that we're that close.
I understand, but the follow-up question would be, do you think Bitcoin will ever be $40,000 again?
Yes.
How certain are you of that?
100%.
Okay. So while you may be waiting for closer to a potential bottom, if you miss, and it's a viewer of ours that's not in crypto right now and is looking to getting into it, and then some sort of miracle news comes out and it goes up, they got nothing. But if they start now and it goes lower and they just keep investing and reinvesting, and it can go all the way down to 3,000 again for all I care. As long as it one day goes back up to 40, you win. You win. So people like us that do already have money in the market, it's fine to wait a little bit because if it goes up, we still got something in to go up with it. But if you are newer into crypto and you are just dipping your toes in, or you haven't even stepped foot in the water yet, in my opinion, it'd be better to get in now and just dollar cost average in. That way, again, the miracle news comes out and we start heading up towards 40, you get to ride that wave with us.
It's a good point that you got on. Well, I've got crypto that I've held that I'm willing to hold to zero because I'm not worried about it. But for me, I think that there's better entries lower. I think that the general market sentiment, both the traditional market and the crypto market at this point, are supporting that. I don't see it moving up. Okay, so if it moves up to 23,000, I'm willing to take that risk and miss out on that $3,000 move and get in at 23 or 25 or 27. Or maybe it runs all the way up to 30, and then I'd be looking for a pullback to that 25 mark and use that as my entry. I'm okay looking at that and missing that $5,000 versus the entry right now. But I don't want to unload all my dry powder at 20,000 right now when there's a chance for it to go down to 17 or 15 or 13 or 10 and me get in at some of those lower prices there. For me, I mean, the difference is astronomical on getting in at those lower prices. I would just rather wait and not unload that. But that comes back to some of our rules too on whether or not we need to completely unload or just ease in. And I would rather just ease in, but I'd rather ease in when it's lower. I'm trying to be patient. Rule number 1.
Neither of us are very patient.
I know, and that I'm so patient I can't even get through the rules. Rule 0, have a plan. My plan is to wait for it to go lower. And then rule number 1, be patient.
There you go.
So you got any would you rathers in there, Craig?
Oh, I forgot that I hadn't taken a turn yet. Quick thoughts. Okay.
Battlestar Galactica.
Yeah, thank you for that. I'm trying to think of some of the odd things we had done in the past. You know, I got one for you. I have no idea what the rates are, and I'm just gonna have you imagine. Would you rather go stake pancake swap at 52 years?
52 years?
Oh, 52 weeks. Dear God, 52 years. That's a long time.
I'll be dead.
52 weeks, 1 year. Last we checked, it was around 100% APY. Let's say $100 into pancake swap, or would you rather go stake it on burger swap right now? Not knowing what it is, but you know how they're acting in their price. So there is unrealized gains in that 1 year. Which one will hold a higher price or hold a price higher than what the entry would be today? And then also factor in the known APY of pancake swap and the unknown APY of burger swap, which I will start lurking for you right now as you talk.
I would rather split them and go 50-50. That would be
not an option.
That's my option.
That's not an option.
Man, that's tough. I think with this, I may go with the known aspect of pancake swap if it's still around. There's no way it's still 100% because it was dropping as it went. Yeah, I'd probably go with pancake swap, even though currently last time I looked at it, it was going down. It was around $2.83. I just don't know enough about the burger swap deal. I don't really want to be in anything long, and I hate when you pin me into this, knowing that there's no aspect of this at all.
There is no winning in this.
I know, because if you're going to make me go long now, it's definitely a losing proposition in my head. But I would rather take the interest rate that I know on pancake swap for the next year versus burger right now. Heck, I could lose half of it right now. I mean, it's over 150% in the last week. I could lose half of it next week of what I put into it.
Well, if it helps you at all, I cannot find an interest rate for you.
Sounds like we need to short it.
Yeah, that's odd when you have an exchange like this that you cannot find information easily. Yeah, I don't like that. I don't like that at all. And yet it is higher in price than pancake swap right now. I wonder what it's in market cap. Would you like to take a guess which one has? I mean, I would guess pancake swap has a higher market cap, but then with the run up, let's close the podcast with that. Which one of these has the highest market cap at this time? Pancake swap or burger swap?
God, it's got to be pancake swap. Got to be.
Okay, so the over-under would be, as of this time, market cap on pancake swap is a bit over 426 million. 426 million. So you're going under for burger?
Mm-hmm. Got to.
Okay, it is definitely under. Definitely under. Which means that its circulating supply is much less than pancake too, since it has a higher price. But would you like to guess how much lower? Pancake was 426 million. Burger is
150 million.
150 million. What if I told you it's less than half?
Less than half the 150 million?
Yep.
Oh, that's surprising to me.
This is a small cap coin. That's
like,
moving wildly too.
Like
for what
50 million?
Pretty close. 65 million.
That definitely is interesting. Which is crazy because that's even after it doubling from last week.
Yeah, that means it would have been closer to 32.
30? Wow.
Yeah, small cap coin, man. Moving like crazy.
Well, we'll see. We'll see what happens over the next week. You want to go double or nothing on our Gary Burger bet?
From here?
Yeah.
Nah. I want nothing to do with Burger right now.
Well, I don't want anything to do with Gary either. But I think maybe over time, we'll look back at it in a year and see if Gary ends up outperforming Burger since then. So we'll see. All right. Thank you guys for listening in. This is the end of one of our longer casts, and we'll see you guys next week. I'm Alan.
And I'm Craig.
And this is Crypto BS.